Are you worried about far-right policies in the West? Are you anxious about what the future holds in a world where President Trump can say that America should occupy Gaza, and where your sensitive personal information is now in the hands of unhinged billionaires? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulihil Kareem. In the name of God, the most deeply and widely merciful, all praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, and peace and prayers be upon His Messenger. Welcome, I'm Adnan Wood-Smith, and I'm here to try to help all of us just make a little more sense of what's going on in the world from a believer's perspective. I want you to think about those early years of the Muslims in Mecca and what they were going through. Many of them were the elite of their society. True, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was an orphan. So there was a disadvantage that he had in certain respects. But in general, his family was one of the top families in Mecca, which was the same with many of those early Muslim converts. But then, as time goes by, they start facing more difficulties and persecution. They start spending all their wealth, spending all the wealth that they have, defending each other and defending themselves. They're pushed out after a few years of the least desirable places of the town. A ban is put upon them. Now there's a blockade. They can't get water, the food, the supplies that they need. They get boycotted. Not only that, many of them are threatened with random violence. And on top of that violence, they're portrayed as the criminals. The people who have the media, if you will, the megaphones, the narrative, the people who control the narrative in their society are people who are saying these are the people who are the cause of all of the evils of our society right now. Everything that's going wrong, it's because these Muslims are tearing our city apart. And they don't only share that narrative amongst themselves, but they live in a place where all of Arabia is converging on that place on a regular basis for the Hajj, for the pilgrimage. And they have their minions spreading the news, spreading this propaganda that these Muslims don't, if they're going to approach you, they're going to tell you about this message that they have, don't listen to them. They're evil, they're criminals. They're the bad people. So the propaganda is all against the Muslims. Even when the Muslims go elsewhere to try to find some safe passage, find some safe haven, the propaganda follows them there. Amr ibn As is dispatched along with another Meccan to go tell the people in Abyssinia, where a group of Muslims are trying to seek refuge, that yeah, these guys are criminals. We want them back. We want to deal with them in our own way, punish them. Don't listen to what they're saying. Think about that situation. And think about in today's terms, who is most like the Muslims in those early years? Think about it. Is it you? Certainly not me. In my opinion, when we think about all the different peoples facing all kinds of different things in this world, my heart goes to the Palestinians in this time and think that they're onto something. Allah is putting them in a situation which is quite comparable, not identical, but quite comparable when you think about it to what those early Muslims were going through. Now, what happens a few years later when the call for migration comes for those Muslims? They start migrating to what becomes known as Medina, to Yathrib. They leave their homes and their wealth. They make a dangerous passage through the desert. That passage is not only dangerous because it's the desert, anything can happen to you in the desert, but also many of them are under attack, trying to be ambushed by the people of Mecca who want to keep them and persecute them in Mecca. So they make that treacherous passage. They settle in Medina, but that narrative, we often think, oh yeah, then it's all great, right? The Muslims are all together, and you have the Ansar and the Muhajirun, the helpers and the immigrants that are all working together. that's not the whole story. We know that that generation is the best generation of believers in this world. And yet we see in their story still ways in which in their hearts there was still something of darkness in there. So even amongst the helpers, the Ansar, the original inhabitants of Medina who welcomed those new Muslims into their land, even for them, in their hearts was a bit of darkness, because it comes out at times, this sense of that there is a narrative in their hearts that some of them voice at certain times of, you'll never really belong here. You're not from here. There are two key instances in which that occurs. One is on the way back from an expedition, the known hypocrite Abdullah ibn Salul, he says these famous words, which are then recorded in the Quran in Surah Al-Munafiqun. لئن رجعنا إلى المدينة ليخرجن الأعز منها الأذل. Once we return to Medina, when we return to Medina, the dignified, the most dignified of that city will root out the debased. I.e., he's saying, and he was originally a leader, part of the elite in Medina. He's saying, you know what? We went out on this expedition. What happened? What good have we gotten? What good have we gotten since these Muslims arrived? Once we get back, we're going to just drive these Muslims out. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. These immigrants who came here for safe passage, we've given them all their stuff, and what have we gotten in return? So you see that in his heart and the hearts of some of the people around him. And then once the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, passes away, Abu Bakr and Omar have to run and interrupt and literally push themselves physically through the guards in order to make it to the meeting that's happening at Saqifat Bani Sa'ida. What's happening at Saqifat Bani Sa'ida? The original elite of Medina, the people who didn't migrate there from amongst the Ansar, they're all deciding amongst themselves who's going to lead the community from this point forward. They did not want the Muhajirun, the immigrants, to be part of that meeting. They felt, this is something we're going to decide amongst ourselves. We're going to appoint the leader. When Abu Bakr made the case of why someone from Mecca, why one of those original companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, should be the leader of the community, what was the response? The response was, oh, okay, good point. Maybe we'll have two leaders then. We'll have a leader who's an original Medinan, and then a leader from the Meccans. There was still in their heart that sense that, yeah, you guys, you just don't really belong here. So those original Muslims, that original generation, the first Sahaba, the first companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, in those terms, who are they most like in our terms in society today? I would argue they're the immigrants. They're the illegals, the aliens, those who are trying to just make a life for themselves and for their families and live a decent life and be decent human beings, and yet at key points when times get rough in society, they're the ones blamed. They're the ones who are told, we're going to root you out. I grew up as an upper middle class white American in the Midwest, with aspirations of serving in the government, as many of you who've joined this channel know, having joined from other interviews that I've done, had the aspiration of being in law enforcement, being an FBI agent, protecting my country in that regard. And for those first 18 years of my life, I lived as someone with privilege. I lived as someone for whom the system worked for me, for whom I could see ahead of my trajectory. I could pursue a career that was meaningful. My mother owned our house, and I knew that, especially being an only child, I would be set up. She would support me. The wealth that she'd built, I would receive. I'd be in a good position. Pretty soon after becoming Muslim, I started to just get a glimpse of what it meant to be on the other side. Coming back from my Arabic study abroad program in Damascus, I get detained at the border for 2 hours. So just slight detention, very slight compared to what I know so many of our brothers and sisters have gone through. But I just start getting a slight taste of, wait, oh, this power structure is not completely just. And it's not working for me. It's working for other people who are at the top and making money and gaining power at the expense of the rest of us. Another instance that happened was when, now being a few years later, somewhat of a community leader in the Muslim community, then having the FBI and US attorneys show up in my office and threaten me with jail time if I didn't give up personal information about members of my community. The reason I mention this, and mention all these stories, both from my life and then from our blessed Prophet's life, peace be upon him, is to highlight the point and ask the question of, who is your heart most with in this time? Who do you most identify with? And I would argue that if we are to survive as believers in this world with our faith intact and continuing increasing, we have to be in this world as if we are immigrants or Palestinians. Be in this world as if you are an immigrant or a Palestinian. That's my limited, fallible, but best attempt at translating a saying of the Prophet, peace be upon him, that you may have heard before, related from Abdullah ibn Umar, may God be pleased with them both, that he said, أخذ رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بمكبي. So the Messenger of God, peace be upon him, took hold of my shoulder and said to me, فقال كن في الدنيا كأنك غريب أو عابر سبيل. Be in this material world as if you're a stranger or just passing through. Be in this world as if you're a stranger or just passing through. Often gets translated, as you may have heard the saying, be in this world as if you're a traveler. A stranger or a traveler? Now, what is most of our experience as travelers living in the modern West? Our experience, waiting a bit, having some interesting food on a plane while we just sit in our seats, getting to watch whatever we want, getting to sleep a bit. When you think about our experience of travel, saying be in this world like a traveler, that sounds kind of nice. Little break from the routine for me. Oh yeah, I get to catch up on, I get to watch the latest John Wick or the latest James Bond on the plane. And then, I can kind of let my diet go a bit, because who knows what they'll serve me on the plane. I'll enjoy that food. Be in this world as if you are an immigrant or a Palestinian. The import of those words of the Prophet, peace be upon him, is such as Abdullah ibn Umar, the narrator of the hadith, elaborates after he narrates that hadith. And so the hadith continues, and this hadith is present in Sahih Bukhari, by the way, if you want to look it up. It continues that Abdullah ibn Umar says, إِذَا أَمْسَيْتَ فَلَا تَنْتَظِرُ الصَّبَاحِ وَإِذَا أَصْبَحْتَ فَلَا تَنْتَظِرُ الْمَسَاءِ فَلَا تَنْتَظِرُ الْمَسَاءِ. When you wake up, don't expect that you'll make it to the evening. And when you make it to the evening, don't expect that you wake up in the morning. وَخُذْ مِنْ صِحَّتِكَ لِمَرَضِكَ. And take from your health for your sickness, وَمِنْ حَيَاتِكَ لَمَوْتِكَ. And take from your life for your death. I.e., don't presume. Don't take anything for granted. Make good use of it for your next life, for this life and the next. Don't presume that what you have today, you will have tomorrow. And so, I don't know if you've caught on, if you've watched a few of these videos, but I write the content for these videos. I come up with these ideas trying to speak to myself. ask myself the kind of questions that I need to ask myself. So now, being in safety and security in a home that we're working towards owning, having a family with me, feeling a sense of stability and having a decent financial income and also finances that are planned for retirement and all those things, is that in my heart? Is that in my heart? Do I identify with the people of privilege in this world? Because when we really sit with the Quran and with the life of our beloved Prophet, peace be upon him, we see him that is a dangerous place to be. To sit with privilege and to identify with that, identify with stability in this world. That's a dangerous place to be. What does Allah say at the end of Surah 3, Surah Al-Imran? فالذين هاجروا وأخرجوا من ديارهم وأوذوا في سبيلي وقاتلوا وقتلوا لأكفرن عنهم سيئاتهم ولأدخلنهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ثوابا من عند الله والله عنده حسن الثواب. He says, so those who migrated and were driven out of their homes and they were harmed in my way. They suffered persecution. They were hurt. They were tortured. Things were taken away from them. And they fought and they were killed. I will cover over their faults and I will surely enter them into heaven, into gardens, enter them into gardens under which rivers flow as a reward from the presence of God. In God's presence is the best of rewards. That's it. In God's presence is the best of rewards. In God's presence is the best of stability. We as believers, we can think, okay, yeah, we believe, we work to do the best, but we have to constantly ask ourselves, where are our hearts and who are our hearts identifying with at the end of the day? That this, for many of us, will be the cost, the price tag of a good life in the next life. Fleeing, being harmed, being tortured, having things taken away from us, striving, losing our lives. This will be the cost for many of us. And so every single one of us, if we're serious about our faith, needs to prepare ourselves for those kind of moments. When that happens, when Allah places those things in our life. So we have to ask ourselves, I have to ask myself, would anything change in my life if I were an immigrant or a Palestinian? What would shift in my life? If I'm an immigrant now in the US, I would feel like my life situation is precarious. The government could push me out at any point. I could lose my house. I could lose my family. If I were a Palestinian, I could definitely lose my house. Suddenly, I'll lose half my family, all my family. Maybe I'm the only one left living. Lose everything I've built, despite me having been here for generations, having the most claim over the land. Like the Prophet ﷺ, they rooted him out of his land. Yet he was a descendant of Ismail alayhi salam, the original founder of what was to be Mecca. We say often these days that our hearts are with Gaza, our hearts are with the people of Gaza, our hearts are with the Palestinians. But are they really? That's what we need to be. Not just because it sounds like the right thing, but because it is the teaching of the Prophet, peace be upon him, as narrated in the collections of Bukhari and Muslim. مثل المؤمنين في توادهم وتراحمهم وتعاطفهم مثل الجسد إذا اشتكى منه عدو تداعى له سائر الجسد بالسهر والحمى. that the likeness of the believers in their love for each other, their mutual love, their compassion for each other, their feeling for each other, is like one body. It's like a body. If one part of it is harmed, then the whole body stays up at night with a fever. Are you staying up at night with a fever? Not to say that, at least for me, getting a good night's sleep is part of how I stay strong and stay grounded and everything like that. Don't take it literally. But take it in terms of, where is your heart? Is your heart with the people of Gaza? Is your heart with the Palestinians? Is your heart with the migrants in this world, making dangerous passage and living in a precarious position? If you don't feel like your life is precarious, like it could be taken away at any moment, and that's not the point of life. You're not supposed to make this a stable life for yourself. Well, yeah, in a way you are. Invest. Try to make the use of your money if you're blessed with money, mashallah. Try to do with your life here in this world the best that you can, but with that awareness in mind that this is not taken for granted. That I need to be in this world like an immigrant or a Palestinian. In terms of, any of this could be taken away at any point. And so, 4 questions I want to leave you with to make this specific. Or rather, 4 recommendations now. Because the key question is, what would change in your life right now if you were an immigrant or a Palestinian? Living where you are right now, in the situation you're in right now. So, 4 practical pieces of advice. Number 1, this is especially true for the men amongst us, but even the sisters. Learn how to defend yourself. Develop your physical strength. Take those means to know how to handle yourself in the world against threats, to stand up for yourself and your family. We often don't realize that if we've been to Mecca for Umrah or Hajj, one of the things that you do as men, wearing that towel around your shoulders, is you take the towel off one shoulder and reveal the right shoulder when you're first doing the circumambulations, the tawaf around the Kaaba. Why do we do that? Well, the original generations of Muslims did that to literally show their muscles. To show off to the people of Mecca, we're strong, you can't mess with us. Look how big our upper arms are. Look how sturdy our shoulders are. We're going to show you that, so that you don't mess with us. What do we, mostly as Muslims, have to show? Our diabetes meds, for many of us? Our cigarettes? Like, really, in general, we can all, I'm speaking first to myself and then to you, we can all step it up in terms of our physical health and stability and our ability to stand up for ourselves and for the people we love. So that's 1. Number 2, treat your financial and professional stability as something that will likely not be there tomorrow. Assume that it's not going to be there. So what have you used it for? How have you taken advantage of it for yourself, for success in this life, but more importantly in the next? And how have you uplifted others through those positions, through those privileges that you've been given? They'll likely be taken away tomorrow. Presume that they're going to be taken away tomorrow. So number 3, check your heart. Imagine if all those things were taken away from you. How would your relationship with Allah change? Would it change? For some of us, we'd go the bad route. We'd go the dark route of questioning Allah's mercy. Allah, you gave me all this and then you've taken it away. Allah, how could you take all this stuff away from me? I've worked so hard. I saved up so much money for this house and then you took it away from me. Oh, what are you doing? We act like little kids, like little children, in terms of thinking that this is for us. Allah mentions in Surah 43 and Surah Al-Zukhruf, were it not that Allah feared, this is a paraphrase, but you can look up the ayah. Were it not that Allah Were it not that people would all become one community, i.e., everyone would become disbelievers, we would have given the disbelievers amazing houses with amazing ornate decorations and gold and silver lining and all these things. That's what he would have done, had it not been clear that that would have deluded so many of us and we would all become disbelievers. He's saying in that Quran, all this stuff in the dunya, the stability in the home and the job and the privilege, all these things, that's not for you as a believer. If you find some, great. If you get that, great, use it. That's not for you. That's just pleasure for the people of this world. They're just biding their time until they're out and the real life happens. That's what we should be doing, biding our time until the real life happens, making use of this time, but still understanding the reality that the Prophet, peace be upon him, described this world as a prison for us. So if we're scared of going to prison, what if if I were an immigrant, I could be detained, I could be put in jail. Assume that's going to happen. What would change? Would you question Allah's mercy, even though he's the most merciful? And if he's doing it to you, it's going to be best for you. You just have to have the good opinion of him to realize that and to step into that. Or conversely, maybe you would have an outwardly deeper relationship with him. Then you'd be caught, you'd turn to Allah and say, Allah, my house has been taken away. I've been thrown in jail. My family's all gone. I don't have anyone to turn to but you. Yeah, that was true the whole time. You don't have anyone to turn to but Allah. So if things would change for you, if your relationship with Allah would get closer or get farther, if everything were taken away from you, things need to change. Things need to change. So check your heart. That's number 3. And then number 4, learn from your brothers and sisters who are in that disadvantaged position. Learn from your brothers and sisters amongst the immigrants, the Palestinians. Watch them. Learn from them. They are your teachers. They're not the ignorant people or the unlucky people who didn't get to emigrate to the West like you did, and you made a life for yourself. It's so easy for us to get wrapped up in the cycle of Western superiority and that complex and the main character syndrome. We're the ones who made it. We made it for our lives. Unfortunately, the people back home, they didn't make it, or they just didn't understand what life could be like for them. No, those are your teachers. Your brothers and sisters in less advantaged positions, they are your teachers in several ways. For one, in terms of what's in their hearts, them having the inescapable experience in this dunya that, anything can be taken away, nothing's for granted. I have to reconcile my relationship with Allah with that in mind. But then also too, just in the practicalities of it, how do you navigate a power system that does not work for you and will never work for you? There's just practical life advice that you can learn. That me spending time with my teachers in West Africa, for example, I've learned of this is how you navigate a power structure that doesn't work for you. You don't presume that all these people, the bureaucrats sitting behind the desk, are actually going to have your good interest at heart, or that they're going to listen to you when you say, this is unfair, I'm calling my lawyer, I'm calling my congressperson and we're going to settle this. No, it does not work for you. It was never meant to work for you. This is the dunya, man. This is the dunya. I hate to break it to you. So, be in this world as if you're an immigrant or a Palestinian. As if. Because not all of us are given that privilege of being allowed to be constantly reminded what the reality of this life is. And so those people who are given that privilege, they have privilege in this world, they have privilege in the next world. They'll be the nobility. They'll be the celebrities whose palaces we're going to want to visit and hang out in the next life. Because Allah is going to reward them and make their whole struggle in this world feel like it was just nothing. That's what he promises. That's what our beloved Prophet promises, peace be upon him. So for those of us not in that situation, for those of us who wake up surprised, oh, my house is still here and I'm still alive, my family's still alive. Do what you can to learn from that state of heart in those 4 ways. Learn how to stand up for yourself. Treat your financial professional stability as if it's something that will be taken away tomorrow or by the end of this day. Check your heart to see if anything would change in that effect. And learn from your brothers and sisters in less advantaged positions. May Allah allow us all to learn from each other. May He bring us to Him. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Oh Lord, give us the best in this life and the best in the next life, and save us from the punishment of the fire. Alhamdulillah. If we really inculcate this into our lives, we won't have to pay the taxes. Won't have to necessarily pay the dues of waking up to what life really is about in this world. And we can use our privilege and use our means for good ends that will elevate other people in this world and elevate us ultimately in the hereafter. That's what we're going for. And finally, if you want help elevating your sense of meaning and direction in life, and just feeling more of a grounding there and not taking your privilege for granted and knowing what to do with it in a meaningful way, then take a look at the Greater Why program. Consider joining us in there. It would be great to have you. And with that, I close. Subhanakallahumma hamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Hope that was helpful.